7:45 a.m. on this Thursday, February 19th. We are kind of overcast this morning, and well, I'm not sure if you could see this. Yes, we are recording through the screen meshing of the window, as I have been doing here recently. So we've got this kind of activity that is, again, there we go, right? Yeah. I gotta say, it's days now to where I've been having sleep issues. Tried to crash out 11 p.m. last night, toss and turn. Got to a point where I got up, my stomach started growling a little bit. I told myself, watch, it's probably like 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning. Once you know, it was 3:08 a.m. And so I threw a little bit of something in my belly, continued to toss and turn, and I got fed up. And I started throwing some questions at the Google search engine, and I'll be posting those over at my community postings. Very disturbing information once again, as the reason why I even did so is because I decided to change some settings through Google to not save my data as far as my web activities, all that. And of course I switched over to YouTube to not save the search data. And then I go back to YouTube, and now I am only getting, maybe about 20 recommended videos, and everything else in between is nothing but ads. And a good majority of those recommended videos is that now, AI summaries, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Since I did what I did, I get very little to watch on YouTube now. And then a good majority, once again, at the bottom of those recommended watch videos, there's AI summaries that explains. And that really got me going. And of course, once again, there's going to be some images, screenshot images, today at my community postings. That is all. But there will be just a little bit more that I will provide. 8:10 a.m. Man, I am feeling so weak from lack of sleep. It's unbelievable. Days now. I'm headed out to the feeding ground. I'm going to record just a minute or so while I'm out there. 8:15 a.m. So according to the Google weather narrative today, we're supposed to have something like 65% drizzle, aka rain, if you will. This is just filler content before I get to the actual main content for this day. And it will be very limited because of the lack of sleep. My mentality is just not cutting it anymore. I've been doing what I can to fight against this thing known as artificial intelligence. Within the community postings, believe it or not, there's a little bit of guidelines of what you can do to help the process of fighting against said system, if you will. Now, I did put a little bit of seed into the feeding tree this morning. You might be able to see a little bit of it right there. And well, of course, it doesn't take long that if you don't feed them, they don't come forth. And that's the same with the cats. You know, a few days of not feeding feral cats, if you will, and they will eventually wander off in search of adequate food sources. And the reason why I put some seed into the tree is because I was actually thinking possibly that we'd get the attention of some blue jays to come in, draw them in, if you will. But that is not the case right now. The reason that I wanted to do so is because I came across a video last night about a woman that spent a good majority of her life trying to understand the language of birds, and I guess I have not watched the video, and therefore I won't be providing a link. You can go ahead and search for it yourself if you like. But she has actually deciphered the language of birds. And so, yeah, I just got to throw that in the mix. And, oh yeah, that's, if I got that. Anyways, we, of course, got crows that well, the sounds of crows have been quite often here lately, and whenever I seem to step outside, there they are. Might be quite apparent that we have this trail, past trail that is right up overhead. At least it is very apparent for me to see. Down with artificial intelligence. We've got some birds that's sitting back here. See, this is the reason why I don't feel I need to feed the birds. They're actually quite a little distance away. These are some juncos here, and they're picking up stuff off the ground. That is, once again, kind of far away from the feeding tree here. Of course, we're supposed to go back into winter snow conditions. So I might resume feeding if it gets worse around here. Yeah, there's quite a few birds in the branches back in here. Now I'm not sure, because of, once again, lack of sleep and how it's affecting my thought processes and all of that, but whether or not I I've only taken like 4 or 5 screenshots. One of those, and I don't know if it is one that I have saved, but life is but a dream. I thought to ask the Google search engine about that. So let's continue on at 9:05 a.m. This is going to be rough, but I feel I need to do this before I lose all forms and mode of thought and sanity. So let's do a little bit of traveling. Try to figure out just who in the hell am I? First and foremost, you know that I'm highly connected with nature in the form of animals and plants. I have a background of doing a lot of gardening, and yes, in the past, hunting, fishing, practicing survival, practicing self-defense. Throughout my lifetime, it has been an accumulation of a wide variety of interests. I've worn a great many hats throughout my lifetime. Now, once again, I have provided a little bit of a display which we will go into depth just that much more. And I would ask that you ignore the background, as I have pretty much a mountain of packed boxes and empty boxes in the background here, as plans were made quite a few years ago for me to get out of here, but well, I'm still here since 2009, and throughout my lifetime, and of course while I've been here, I have accrued a great many things correlating with my interests, and most everything comes to me. I have never gone out and played Leonard Nimoy in search of, if you will. Now, here lately, it has been this fascination pertaining to history, Society of Secrets, in which the society, or a certain brotherhood thereof, is to be coming out and releasing more information supposedly pertaining to our realities. And this is not just here in the United States. This, in fact, involves the whole world, if you will. Those that I speak of as the Knights Templar, as well as that Freemason Society. And we are talking the secret society and not Freemasonry as far as stonecutters and that type of occupation, all right? Yesterday I began watching yet another very long, lengthy video presentation from a Knights Templar, in which I have provided this video to my playlist entitled The Dark Knights, and I've only gotten so far into that video, but there was a point to where this Knight Templar came out and stated something that really kind of shook my foundation and made me really pay attention just that much more. The factor that he said ever since childhood he had been a collector of things. And this is much akin to what I have stated in past content, where I shared more of my personal life, and the factor that when, earliest memories while I was in school, and we had our periods of show and tell, and that was like one of the greatest things that I ever involved myself in school. And that was, between the ages of 5 to 8 years old. And ever since then, I have been a collector of a great many things, and I don't really feel much of value as far as monetary value, more nostalgic. But the factor is too much information, if you will. But this man began speaking. He is a geologist. Okay, so I just want to go right here. And yes, I have shown my rock collection. Okay, which involved a great many different types and styles, and even that of petrified wood, arrowheads, okay, artifacts from the past, and so basically rocks, minerals, and of course we cannot forget a wide variety of gemstones, okay. The idea of treasure hunting, Morgan the Pirate, right, has been with me for a very, very long time. And even to the point to where, at one time I actually wanted to go in search of the Lost Dutchman's mine. And another reason for that is because of this point right here in Arizona, which is known as Weaver's Needle, which that is my last name, Weaver. My mother was a Michigan history teacher, although she did not teach me all that much. I mean, she did when I was a child, but that was more akin to, let's just say, womanly duties. Okay, cooking, cleaning, sewing. I've done it all. Okay, and furthermore, I live in Michigan. And Michigan, just like, the rest of this country, was heavily inundated with Indians, or Native Americans, if you will. But then, of course, I believe that there was an ancient civilization that predated the Native Indians, and so much more. I have a lot of theories, and many of my theories have been spoken about to great lengths on this platform. Now, my mother, she was fortunate enough to actually, as far as this collection here, these 4 books right here, she knew the author, okay? But I have also been quite philosophical, and a great many philosophies and philosophers has been of interest. Furthermore, that I've got my interests, I have had my interests in that of ghosts, if you will, okay? And yeah, this is an autographed copy, okay? And this came through my mother once again. Of course, science has been part of my life. I have never been big into mathematics, yet geometry seems to come natural to me, and not really the mathematics involved within geometry. It's just like the aspect of playing pool or billiards, if you will, and just knowing the proper angles of which, through striking the cue ball with the cue stick and being able to formulate the angles of which, once again, how to strike that ball properly so it can strike the other pool balls or billiard balls in order to get them to drop into the pockets. It just comes natural to me, if you will. And from science, of course, religion, and I've spoken a great deal
of my thoughts pertaining to the Bible, on prophecies, and history has been a big thing, and again, the supernatural, paranormal, and then of course we also have so-called the cryptids, okay, and again, the history of the United States. And this is just, I'm only showing just a few examples, but of course, we have the sky observations, right? But all of this boils down, and once again, a combination of symbolisms and the meanings behind symbols, and just so much that I cannot explain, and especially when viewing these very lengthy videos pertaining to the Templar Knights or Knights Templar, whatever, and the Freemason Society and other secret societies such as like the Illuminati and blah blah blah, and it's also led into other things, right? And these, I was exposed to this very early on in age because, we were taught about King Arthur, but yet King Arthur, at least when I was a child, was still nothing more than a myth or legend. But yet, over the years, that has basically sort of somewhat changed. So, again, we have to go back to my theory, the time loop theory, and that of reincarnation. And when I watch these videos, many times I just sit there and I'm in full agreement. Especially like when they bring up certain factors of like the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail. And again, going back to, the Age of Chivalry, the Crusaders, and of course, going back to the gods and the goddesses, and so a lot of the information that comes forth, I just simply nod my head in agreement, and also within fascination. So I have to question my so-called life, and furthermore, the factor of how many past lifetimes have I lived, and in what forms? Because all of this that I have not only collected throughout this lifetime has brought more curiosity, if you will, but it's also led me to this point in time pertaining to many events that's taking place today, and the unraveling of a lot of, let's just say, hidden mysteries, if you will. And I can really understand such things as what Donald Trump has been doing and why. After all, he is a Gemini, and furthermore, as I've shown in a former community posting, he wasn't all that great in school either, but he excelled in what subject? Geometry. Now I'm not for nor against the guy, but with this push of artificial intelligence and the furthering of so-called advancements in technologies, I just cannot jump on board with. And I'm doing what I can to really foul up the system through doing what I do through the Google search engine. And once again, I do believe that within one of these screenshots that I will be providing or have provided in today's community postings will show exactly what I mean. I cannot remember what screenshots I took, so please forgive me for that. But I'm just going to end up with just who in the hell am I really? And that is the ultimate question that all should ask, as far as I'm concerned. So once again, before I lose all thought or even sanity, I am going to have to leave off with this. I could include so much more. I just grabbed what I could throughout my vast collections of crap. Just for, a little bit of examples to show this, that, and the other thing pertaining to my life. And again, I deleted a good hour and 20 minutes worth of recordings from the other day, to where I really went much more into depth and detail over my childhood, showing photographs, this and that, and that was all for the purpose of, if Google's going to have my information and use it pertaining to a future avatar, and it's not like what you people might think or what the search engine information provides, because I do not agree with that either, because I understand such things as chapter 21 in the King James Bible. And what that actually is speaking of, and which is like data centers, or, heaven on earth, if you will, a virtual reality of downloaded consciousnesses. And furthermore, people, when it comes down to the Knights Templar, and Freemasonry, I could never be one in this life because, I got a criminal history and I cannot keep secrets. But yet, for some reason, so much of this information is agreeable with me for unknown reasons. Can you help me out? What do you think? Are you willing to comment? And thank you for those that have been commenting here recently. I do appreciate it. I can't continue. I'm being too overwhelmed. And right now, because of lack of sleep, I'm losing my emotional state. In a way, I almost feel lost now, to where I thought otherwise. But I really need to end this, get it out there, because I really don't want to continue on, to be honest. This world has just gotten too crazy through the advancements of technologies, and I despise it. There's only one thing in this life that I can honestly state that I hate with my every fiber of being, down to my spirit and soul, and that is the factor of these advancements of technologies, especially that known as artificial intelligence, which I find no value in whatsoever. It's too flawed, and again, there's going to be information pertaining to that within today's community postings. So thank you for playing along and for watching. I would ask that you all take care, and of course, have yourselves a great one. This is Morgan signing off, and Skywise out.